Welcome back to the Morning Report. Today we're tackling one of the most uncomfortable necessary comparisons. And this came because I saw this tweet. Are we still calling them tweets? On X. This was, and let me show you what I saw. I saw this. It says, "Until my final breath, I will never understand how January 6th wasn't an instant deal breaker for every single American voter." Interesting. That's really kind of funny, especially because like right before that, not like 10 years before that, or 20, 30, 40, 50 years before that, we had the BLM riots, right? Remember that? They weren't just a flash in the pan. They went on for like 7 or 8 months across the country, from Portland to Minneapolis and New York to Kenosha. You ever been to Kenosha, Wisconsin? It's about this big. It's very quaint. And they've got a great pub down across from the hotel. I had the pleasure of spending an evening there. And the pub food is fabulous. Everywhere, but it was weird. Everywhere I went there, they were playing 80s music. It was really kind of weird, but I liked it. And I thought to myself, this will be a great time in the summer, because when I went there, it freaking snowed. And this Florida guy did not have clothes for that. Did not have clothes for that. Or shoes for that, because I stepped into a gutter and got my foot wet with wet snow. Fun. But Kenosha. There were BLM riots in Kenosha, freaking Wisconsin. Again, it's this big. It's this big. Okay? Portland, Minneapolis, Kenosha, Seattle. Fire after fire. Here in my own hometown, here in Tampa. Minutes from here. Fires, buildings burned, cars overturned. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. You know, and it lasted for 7 months. January 6th was one ridiculously chaotic afternoon in D.C. A couple of hours of mayhem. I mean, not 7 months of sustained violence, but like a few hours of craziness. So you ask yourself, which deserves more national soul searching? An afternoon of disorder, or a half a year of destruction that nearly touched every major city? And the minor ones as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this comparison, because that's what this video is about, started. All right, here we have the two incidents, the 500 plus BLM riots, plus an afternoon riot, a few hours at January 6th. Let's go ahead and compare and contrast. Just for argument's sake, we're going to say that the BLM riots were left-wing and the January 6th riots were right-wing. We're just going to, just for the sake of argument, as we're finding more and more out, I don't think that's exactly true, but just for the sake of this discussion, let's go ahead and do that. The BLM riots lasted about 7 months. 7 months. Nearly all year. Everywhere. All the places that I named, plus a lot more. January 6th lasted a couple of hours. By the time nighttime was there, it was over. By the time it got dark, it was over. All done. The next day, nope. The next week, nope. Any other major cities? Nope. Any other minor cities? Nope. Over the entire course of the time, BLM riots, there were about 20 plus murders. 20 plus murders. Confirmed. By people who were participants. January 6th, no murders. By participants. No, none. BLM riots. There were hundreds of businesses destroyed. Hundreds. We saw it. You remember the CNN? The mostly peaceful riots? While the car lot is burning in the background? Remember that? Right? During January 6th, there were no small businesses destroyed. During the BLM riots, about 150 federal buildings were damaged. There was damage to one federal building. Now we're still in disagreement on who really caused that damage. Now, in the summer of love, summer of rage, somewhere between $1 billion and $2 billion worth of damage. $2 billion of damage. $2 billion of damage. Are you kidding me? $2 billion. Because it was like 500 riots. Here, where I live, there was a strip plaza. Strip plaza, is that what they're called now? Well, you just have a bunch of stores in a plaza, right? A lot of it got burned to the ground. And down the street from there, these people set a gas station on fire. What that could have been? They set a gasoline station on fire. Now, right behind the gasoline station are businesses and homes. If one of those tanks goes off, I'm a mile and a half away, and I'm sure my windows get shattered. $2 billion worth of damage. January 6th, a lot of money. A lot of money. About $1.5 million worth of damage. So when we're talking about something that the country ought to do some soul searching about, and you really want to compare the riot of January 6th, the trouble, the chaos there, to 7 months of continued organized violence, you're not a very serious person. You're just not a very serious person. Again, hundreds of small businesses, family shops, immigrant-owned restaurants, corner stores, corner gas stations destroyed during the riots. Some never reopened. That was a real economic gut punch. Federal property, more than 150 buildings were damaged. From courthouses to police precincts, total damages, again, from $1 to $2 billion. So which one is burned in your brain as an attack on America? Here's another number. During the BLM riots, more than 2,000 officers were assaulted. Fireworks thrown at them, bricks launched, Molotov cocktails hurled. Cops in cities across America stood bloodied. January 6th, about 140 officers assaulted. Still serious, still not acceptable. But the difference in scale is very much clear. And yet the national conversation never framed the BLM riots as an attack on law enforcement. No primetime hearings. No primetime hearings on BLM. No. No commemorative ceremonies. Apparently, Back the Blue only counts when the politics line up. BLM rioters, many were bailed out by activist groups. Some of them were even bailed out, and these groups were promoted by people like Kamala Harris. Remember, again, she tweeted out a bail fund link during her vice presidential run. They're not going to stop, and they shouldn't stop. Celebrities poured in cash to spring people accused of violence, arson, and destruction. The J6 participants? Some of them sat in solitary confinement for months, awaiting trial. Families were ruined, livelihoods gone. The full weight of the justice system has been dropped on them like a hammer. This isn't about excusing one side. This is about asking, is justice supposed to be equal? Or is it just political? And of course you remember how the media described the BLM riots, right? The famous fiery but peaceful protests. Remember that, right? Now flip the script. January 6th was an armed insurrection, except no firearms were used by the participants that day. Media exaggeration, that's generous. It was narrative construction. On one hand, mass violence downplayed. On the other, chaos inflated into a civil war reenactment. Why? Because outrage is a tool, and the media knows how to use it. And this is the heart of it. This is the heart of it. The numbers don't lie. The scale doesn't lie. By the way these events are treated, that tells you who has the power. And more importantly, who doesn't. When violence serves the preferred cause, it's excused. When violence comes from the wrong side, it's painted as the end of the republic. This is selective justice. This is selective memory. And it's why trust in institutions like media, the courts, politics keeps failing. Because people aren't stupid. They can see the double standard. They can. So here's the takeaway. Okay? If outrage is selective, it's not justice. If outrage is selective, it is not justice. It's not. It's propaganda. And America deserves one standard. If you burn businesses, attack police, and destroy property, you should be held accountable, no matter what sign you're holding. But if accountability only applies to the other team, then the outrage isn't moral. It's manufactured. This is the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.